Welcome to the Manders Mindset podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome to Manders Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I am so excited for today's guest. Today's guest is Dr. Alain Salas, and he is a best-selling author, chiropractic physician, and mind-body expert who's helped over 4,000 clients across the U.S. and Europe break through their limiting beliefs and achieve real, lasting success. Thank you so much for joining me.
Bonjour, Amanda. How are you doing?
I am good. Bonjour to you.
Here we go. Look at you.
I'm catching on. Now, who would you say Alain is at the core?
At the core, I will say that I am a freedom seeker. I am a truth seeker and a knowledge seeker. They all connect with each other. If you want to know the truth, it's better to have a good knowledge about it. And basically, I think our goal in life is, of course, to be the best version of ourselves, but also to get that freedom, right? I mean, freedom is so important to me, right? And that has been at the core, especially at the beginning when I was younger. I wanted to seek freedom. That was so much important for me.
Really? Even when you were younger, freedom was important to you?
Yeah, because it comes from my upbringing. You know, what happened, like my dad was very controlling and negative, right? And so, of course, I wanted to be free. And I thought that freedom was in the outside world, right? So, of course, I bought a boat. You know, I live on my sailing boat for almost like a decade. You know, I was traveling. For me, freedom was synonym of adventure, right? I wanted to have the adventure. I was young and I was not married. And so, you know, I had lots of fun, right? And I was living this life, you know, like this. But after I had a calling and I saw myself actually helping other people, right? And when you've got this kind of calling, there's no question about it. You have to try it, right? And I saw myself helping people and all that. So after that's going to be the quest. From that starting point, that has been the quest for me just to become a doctor and a healer, right? And try to do my best to help people through my experiences, right? That has been, sometimes we just, you know, you can be a doctor, you can be anybody actually, but basically I'm just a simple man who tried to find a solution for his problem.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing some more, a little bit about family dynamic, however deep you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, basically that was, you know, my motivation was freedom. So what I did some study with electronics, right? And things like that. And that allowed me to travel all over the world. I went to Black Africa. I went even to Iraq. A long time ago, there was like the war between Iran and Iraq. I just wanted to devour life, right? I had that appetite for life and for adventure, right? And after, you know, I had a big car accident in Iraq and I decided that give me some amount of money. I was making quite a bit of money and I put all my money into my boat, meaning that, okay, now what? I'm like here broke, you know, everything is on my boat. And of course, when it's like this and you let go, you know, opportunity will happen to you, right? And appear in front of your eyes. And that's how I got into that boat rental business, right? And lived on my boat. And I was doing my passion really at that time. And I was working only 6-7 months a year, right? And the rest of the time, I will sail in the Mediterranean Ocean. And after when the weather got too bad, I will actually buy a airfare ticket and go to the South Hemisphere, right? So I was kind of a sun chaser for like almost a decade. I didn't know what winter was. I had snow. I mean, are you kidding me? I was celebrating Christmas on the beach somewhere in the South Hemisphere. And so life was kind of fun, right? And after I had calling that totally changed the direction of my life. And that was one of the turning points. I don't know at your age really, but sometimes for me, I feel that I live 3 different lives already. 3 different lives. that was like, maybe fourth actually, who knows, right? But I mean, you've got different chapters in life and they can be totally different if you're open-minded, right? And if you don't be afraid of, changing your life, taking risk and do something and follow your heart calling, right? I think that's the main thing, right? When something has been installed in your heart, it's so important to follow your heart, right? That's how you say that in English.
Approximately how old were you when you first got the boat and went down the boat route of your life?
I started my own business. I was 22 years old.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for 8 years. So I was living this kind of life for 8 years, right? And after, when I had the calling, it took me 1 year to sell my boat. I mean, actually to sell the business first and sell my boat. And I didn't know, it's kind of like the way I will describe it, because nobody in my family was involved remotely with healing or modern medicine or things like that, right? So I didn't know what to do. And I used to tell my client, I say, you know what? It's like there's a brick wall and there's no door to just, and I remember we were in a cafe in France, right? And drinking panache, which is pretty good drink. It's a mixture of lemonade and beer. And talking to that guy, and he said, you know what? Alain, there's a Chinese friend by and maybe you should talk to him. I said, yes, I want to talk to him, right? So we talked a little bit. He told me basically, okay, I'm going to give you 3 books to read. And when you're done, after the season is done, you come to my office, I will treat you, and we'll talk. Sure enough, those were a book about philosophy. One was the Tao Te, which is pretty deep Chinese philosophy. And the other one was the Hara. Since you're doing breathing, I'm sure you're familiar with that, right? Hara means belly in Japanese, right? So Hara breathing, for example. And it's entire philosophy about, posture that comes with it. And there was like a book about the man between the earth and the sky, which is acupuncture philosophy. Sure enough, when the season was over, I was done working. I went to see him and I started to talk about Chinese medicine. And I asked him, what should I do? He said, well, Alain, if you really want to know what you're doing, you need to go to China, spend 10 years, learn Chinese, study rotex. I said, hold on, Philip, I want to practice one day. I was like not even 30 at that time. And so he told me, you know what, Alain, you look strong, and why not chiropractic? And I said, what's that? So he gave me all the information, and there were some French people who went to America to study chiropractic, and I sure get some information about it from the school. And I remember one of my best friends was the translator because she was an English teacher. That's how good my English was at the time. And so sure enough, there was something that sold me on that chiropractic things was basically, they were talking about the innate intelligence, your own ability to heal yourself. And I was intrigued about that. And I'm still to this day intrigued about that because I think in different way, I think it's important to empower people to heal themselves. I think that's the key of healing for me, right? But the holy grail of healing, if you want, right? And so, sure enough, I sold my boat, actually my business first. And once in America, starting school, I sold my boat, right? But you have to understand that the lifestyle that I had long hair, right? I mean, probably longer hair than you do. And they used to call me the gypsy. I was animal party, And when I told my parents, oh, by the way, I'm going to America to become a doctor, I mean, they were not even smiling. They were laughing like crazy, right? I mean, what, you want to become a doctor? You party? I say yes. But they couldn't understand truly that when you've got a calling and when your heart has been struck by that mission, that new mission in life, I mean, sky is the limit. You cannot stop. You just have to do it. And sure enough, my brain was kind of rusty in a way, but I graduated actually earlier from chiropractic.
Now, I'm curious. You said you keep mentioning you got this calling. How did you get this calling, and what was this calling that you wanted to help people?
Myself, healing people in different time, like as a Tibetan monk. I saw myself as a woman, like a hermit, and dealing with herbs. And the first one, I remember at the end of the session, because that was some past life regression. But my girlfriend at the time told me, hey, why don't you come with me and let's do that together? I said, okay, why not, right? I had clearly no interest about that, but, sometimes that's how it works. And after, I remember the first session, I went so high that I had what we call rapid eye motion. So I couldn't control my eyelid, right? And they were going, I was on a REM state. And I remember that lady putting a cloth on me just to calm me down, right? And what I've got after the session, I opened a book. And that book, since that book was like Gabriel was the messenger, right? Gabriel. And what happened, he just said that new knowledge will become old knowledge and will after new, like a cycle of new knowledge, old knowledge, and always like they describe it in the book like a drop of water going into the water and making concentric circle, right? And always like this, right? So basically what the new knowledge will become the old knowledge, and after new knowledge will come and caught up in that circle. Since then, never stop learning. Never stop getting more knowledge, for sure.
Now, I want to backtrack a tad. You mentioned when you told your family or your parents that you wanted to go to America and become a doctor, they laughed and didn't believe that. Did you have a difficult time pursuing that because of lack of support?
No, because actually, to be honest with you, if my dad said, don't do this, I will do it, right? Okay. Because of his mindset was like, I mean, this man was so negative that at 40 years old, he was on disability, right? Couldn't work. And of course, so I've seen what kind of the mindset, how it can affect your life to your core, right? And people around you, right? And so I think that's why, God bless him, right? He passed now. But the thing and the matter is should be wanted to do, which is very important too, right? And so, no, actually, I was so tunnel vision on that. But nobody, even I remember I had somebody in my life at the time, I just had to do what I had to do. And even some romantic attachment wouldn't even touch it. But the way it was. That's how strong that calling was.
That's amazing. So you go to America and you go to school. How was schooling for you?
Well, it was epic at the beginning, right? Because to understand, thanks, I had some classmates that will give me their notes, right? I remember when I landed first in America, I was in New York City, in Manhattan, and spent a couple of weeks in some French friend apartment there. I remember scanning all the channel because in France, we didn't have at that time, it was in 93, we didn't have at that time too many channels. I ended up, listening to the Spanish channel, right? That's the one I could understand the best. So I said, oh boy, that's going to be something. But, when it's survival, you have to learn something, you will, it's just, and especially when you're in the country. So I was watching lots of TV to brush up my American English, right, and all that. And the challenge was, your brain, like you have to really open up all those pathways, if I can say that, of learning, and especially there's so many things you have to learn by heart with medicine, right? So that was something. I met a French woman in a bar in Kansas City, and she became my wife, and we had a daughter. Her name is Maya. Now she's 20 years old. We had the French connection going, let's put it that way.
No, post-school, what did life look like for you? And what did you do post-graduating?
Yeah, so I started to treat people, right? And so, but I have to say, my mindset or my mind was chiropractic school has never been a dogma for me, right? I knew that I think one of my best qualities is just to be open-minded, right? And say, why not, right? That's what I call open-minded. Closed-minded, you say, you see only one solution or no solution for your problem, right? And so I always say, why not? And so I started to treat people, right? And so they will get better quickly. And after they will plateau, and just to maintain their health benefit, right? And they will still have to come to see me. And I thought to myself, there's something wrong with that, right? Because I believe in what we call the law of cause and effect, right? So for every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there's a cause. Therefore, if you've got a problem in life, Amanda, and this can be any problem, it can be a health problem, it can be a prosperity problem, right? It can be a relationship problem. You need to know two things in order to resolve your problem permanently. So what are those two things? Well, They come from the law of cause and effect. Number one, you need to find what's causing your problem, right? If you don't know what's causing your problem, how can you fix it? And number two, you need to know how to fix it. If you know those two things, this is it. So this seems to be like very basic and simple, but if you apply that law on all your decision making, meaning, okay, is this really the cause of my problem? Am I going really towards, clearing the cause of my problem, right? And do really I know how to clear it? So when I analytically look at chiropractic, so, the burnout or place or what they call subluxation, the cause of a problem, or there's more causes of that problem? And my answer, no, there's different causes. You've got emotion that can impact your body. You've got mental that goes with emotion. You've got a negative thought that can create problem. You can have some chemical aspect, part of your physiology, organ that can refer to your nerves and your nervous system and stretch them out. And of course, you've got also the physical aspect of it, right? That the burnout or place is only a part of it, right? There's muscle involved, there's the central nervous system. So I started to study all that, right? Because I really wanted to find the cause of a problem. And I did develop a system, a holistic system, a mind-body connection, if you want. And at the beginning, with chiropractic, with physical things, I did create my own energetical technique, right? So I was able to do that to help even deeper people, right? And also I became a cranial specialist, right? Because chiropractic have an impact only of 20% of the nervous system, which is all the nerves that go from the side of your spine, right? But 80% of your nervous system is the skull. So I became a cranial specialist, right? So I started to get pretty pleased with the result I had physically. But after there were some people who come and say, hey, Dr. Salas, I've got pain in all my joints. Can you do something? I say, well, I can try, but it was what we call the chemical stress on inflammation, right? And so physical work wouldn't touch it, or you will get better, but it wouldn't last, right? So I started to study how to do some muscle testing. So if you come to my office, or even now, I will check all the organs in your body, find out which one are under stress, and again, what's causing the stress in those organs. It can be a parasite, it can be yeast overgrowth, bacteria, it can be food sensitivity, it can be toxins, whatever, right? So we found out what's creating the inflammation or the fire in your body, right? And that's how I was able to help those people. I made a practice out of it. I used to have like 4 employees, right? And seeing 250 patients a week, right? So that was like, living the American dream, making a ton of money, being super busy, but I thought I was doing the right thing, right? And so because I was living my mission in life. And sure enough, I burned out pretty bad. And when I remember coming home after, working, and I was there, but I was not present. So I was thinking too much about the business. So I felt totally unbalanced and disconnected and burned out. So guess what? When this happened with your family members, well, I ended up within a year, Amanda ended up divorcing, right? Number one. Number two, what happened? I became depressed because when you divorce and you've got a child that you adore, right? And it's never a handshake, trust me. And so what happened, my practice went from thriving to failing. I ended up being the only person in that office. And the cherry on the cake, I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer, right? So here I am telling you what to do to prevent chronic disease, including cancer. And I got diagnosed with it. I have to rethink about everything in my life. I have to rethink about my health, my relationship, my job, the way I was doing it, because I felt myself that I was doing my own program, and my prosperity, right? But I knew deep inside that there was something deep within that was pushing me to sabotage my health, my relationship, and my prosperity. I went on a quest to figure out, okay, what's causing that? What created that mess? And sure enough, that's how I discovered the mind clearing system.
Wow. Did you have any signs, like during the process, that you were burning out and ignoring the signs?
Well, yes, of course. Like with a divorce, for example, with my wife, we didn't get too much along, right? We were disconnected. That's the best way I can say, right? And maybe going to different path, right? And so at that time also, I figured out in between all that, I figured out that, hey, you know what? True freedom comes from within. So I started to meditate quite a bit, 3 hours a day, which was totally insane because I was totally ungrounded, right?
Now, can I interrupt you real quick? Had you
Sure.
ever meditated before this?
Before this, what?
Well, you said you started to meditate for 3.
I know I never did that before, right?
Meditated before, and then you started meditating for 3 hours a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got involved with like a kind of meditation, right? And so I learned how to do that. I was doing an hour and a half in the morning. That for maybe 2 or 3 years. And now I do meditate, but less. Yeah. That's another way that you can access to that unknown and to discover that unknown world that is within yourself.
What made you start meditating?
I was started meditation. It's like to have that freedom, right? I mean, I truly understand that true healing and transformation and growth come from within. So at that time, that was the only way that I wanted to experience that. I wanted to experience God. I wanted to experience, that awareness. I wanted to experience that non-duality. I wanted to experience it all because true knowledge is about experiencing things, right? I mean, that's key. If you don't experience things, you don't know, right? That's why for example, they take people who were before like had alcoholism, right? To help people who are currently and try to get rid of alcoholism because you can have a PhD and all the knowledge in the world, but when you don't have a practicality or have been there and done that, this is like golden knowledge, right? Because you can find the word, you know exactly what they are talking about and you can relate and they can relate to you, right? And so I just wanted to, not to read about books, I wanted to experience things.
What made you try it at this point in your life?
I asked a patient, like we were talking with a patient and I said, you know what? I think I need to find a meditation technique, And she said, oh, what about this one? I said, okay, and I try it. You need to find what's good for you, right? That resonates with you. And resonating is about your heart, right? So if you've got your heart into that and you resonate with something, right? Just do it. Whatever meditation it is, right? And just make sure that you can do that on your own, right? You're empowering yourself, right? And meditation, that's what it is.
I think that's amazing. What type of meditation technique was it?
Yeah, it was a different meditation with a kind of a mantra and something like that. But again, it doesn't really matter, right? It's whatever, for example, with this kind of meditation, when I'm gone, I'm gone. And when I come back, my breath is like so shallow. It's almost the opposite of what breath work is, right? It's like so shallow and when I realize, oh, that's so shallow, and boom, of course, after my breath is going to get more. But yeah, it's like so, I wish I would have something to record it, right? Maybe I should have a watch like that or whatever. I'm not into technology too much. But to see what will be my heartbeat or how many breaths a minute I will have, because it's almost like I've stopped breathing in a way, right?
I gotcha. That's great, though, that you just discovered it and started doing it. What does meditation look like for you today?
Mornings, 30 minutes to 1 hour. It's okay if I don't meditate one day. It's okay if I don't meditate 2 days, right? I'm not into that. Now, treating myself to reprogram my subconscious mind, it's important to me to do that almost every day, right?
Now, how do you reprogram your subconscious mind?
Oh, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Such a simple question, but woof. First of all, what is the subconscious mind, right? Because let's make sure that the audience can understand, right, what we're talking about, right? So basically what you have to know, it's like you're living in two separate worlds at the same time. What do you mean, Dr. Salas? I'm living in two separate worlds? Yes, you are. So you've got what we call the outside world, right? So what you are aware of, right? And it's called the conscious mind. So it's basically, what are you aware of? You're aware of your thought, your emotion, your decision, and your action, right? And so it's basically your self-identity, Like if I ask you, what are you doing? How do you see yourself? That's the conscious mind, right? So that's the I am, if you want, right? I am this and blah, blah, blah. So that's also your personality, right? And after you've got that, what we call the subconscious mind, right? Which is a very mysterious mind, right? It's like hidden, you don't really know what the heck is going on down there, right? And so the subconscious mind is record everything you have been doing in your life, Amanda, right? From when you are born to now, everything is recorded there. And all your skill as a podcaster, as a healer, as the brave goddess, and all that, right, are coming from your subconscious mind. All the automatic process in your body that doesn't require you to think about it, like your breath, your regular breathing, right? Like your heartbeat, like your digestions, are coming from your subconscious mind. So, because when I was, when I started to get sick and I have all that, right, I wanted to find solution. I was pretty happy treating with the inflammation because I discovered that if you supercharge the body with oxygen, cancer will go away, right? I mean, it's like, they don't like cancer cell. It's like the equivalent of a vampire looking at the sun. When there's the oxygen, that they don't like that. But after the missing link was the mind-body connection, right? So what about the emotion, right? What about the mental status, right? Or can it affect your body? Heck, yes, of course. And so that's when I started to inquire about the mind, right? I started to study the mind, right? And so I came to the different conclusion with that. And so the subconscious mind was fascinating to me, right? Because we don't really know what's happening. And so I want to mention two facts about the subconscious mind that I thought are very important. First of all, your conscious mind, so who you think you are, what you're aware of, can process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind processes data at 11 million bits per second. So it means now, like looking at you, and listening to what I'm saying, my conscious mind, I'm aware of only 11 bits per second of data that I'm aware of. But in the same time, there's 11 million bits per second of data that's going and gets stored in my subconscious mind. Isn't it crazy? So what we are aware of, it's like a tiny portion of what really our mind is getting, right? That's number one. Now, depends who you're reading. Your conscious mind, who you think you are, is only 5 or 10% of your mind. Therefore, your subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of your mind. And yet, here's the problem. When we want to heal, transform ourselves, grow, what we focus on, it's only on our conscious mind, right? So it means we're using only 5 or 10% of our mind power, right? So I thought to myself, why not bringing the subconscious mind to the party? Like that we can use 100% of our mind power. And that's what the mind clearing is about.
Now, can you take us down the 3 steps?
Yes. So what you have to understand first, that we all have been programmed. You have been programmed. I have been programmed. Everybody listening to that program has been programmed, literally. So how does it work? Well, first of all, disclaimer, we can be programmed at any time. It's an ongoing process. But during the age of from 0 to 7 years old, we are like sponges. I mean, for God's sake, our brainwaves are different, right? We process the world differently. So we are more, if you want, on a hypnotic, mindset, if you want, right? We need to get all that information from the outer world, right? And so we assume things. We assume that everything we're seeing is the truth. So you assume things 1 time, 2 times, and after it becomes a program. And that program goes into your subconscious mind, is stored there. So after a while, you're not aware of what kind of programming you had. So since we're talking about program, let's make the analogy of a mind and a computer, right? So if you look at a computer, the hard drive will be your brain, right? That's the physical aspect. That's your hard drive. Your software, which are all your programs, will be obviously the subconscious mind. The output of the subconscious mind is your conscious mind, right? And after your behavior is reflected on the screen of life. So basically, you've got two kind of programs that are serving you, right? And some people, I call that positive program, right? But also we can call that, people will relate to that as empowering belief, right? And so it's basically, we all have a day that, man, like our mind is working for us and not working against us. And you kind of, everything is flowing literally, and you're achieving so much, everybody loves you. You like, it's almost an euphoric state, right? And you just say, man, life is great, right? So that's when you've got all those positive programming working for you at that time. Your mind is working for you, not against you. Of course, overprogramming is when your mind is not serving you any longer. Those programs are not serving you any longer. And those are negative programming, right? And so we call that also limiting belief, because they are holding you back. It's kind of like those programming when your mind is working against you. I mean, since you wake up, you think everything is against you, right? Even people, even in the traffic, people honking at you, say, what the heck is going on today? Not productive, but also it can be counterproductive. And you are saying to yourself, man, I wish I would have stayed in bed today, because that's not clearly working for me, right? And so that's the kind of programming, right? And so those programming that in your subconscious mind actually are from other people most, or some trauma that you had, right? For example, let me give you an example, right? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's pretend there's a little girl that see her dad that is an alcoholic coming drunk every night and beat up his wife. Why do you think that little girl's going to attract as a romantic relationship when she's an adult? What kind of relationship she's going to attract more likely?
I feel like it could go one or two ways.
But which one he goes most of the time? What do you
Probably
think?
an abusive man.
You bet you. You bet, right? Because what's happening is this, right? So we kind of agree about that, an abusive man, okay? All right. So there's a few things I want to mention about that. If I ask that woman, right, she's a woman now, she's in a bad relationship, right? If I ask her, hey, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? So the conscious mind is going to say, heck no, right? I don't like that, right? But the subconscious mind has been programmed as men are predator and women are prey, right? And so who's controlling your life? Who's making the decision about your life? Your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind. So it's kind of like your past is dictating your present and molding and shaping your future, right? And especially for that limiting belief or negative programming. They are always winning. Those programs are always stronger than your will or than your conscious mind, And I'm sorry to say that. So people will say, oh my goodness, what I can do. Well, here's the good news, right? The bad news is we all have been programmed. We all have some negative programming. Okay. But at least you understand what's causing your issue now, what's causing your health problem, right? What are the deep-rooted cause of your relationship problem? What are the deep-rooted cause of your prosperity problem, right? So that's an awareness first. That's very important, right? But the good news, you can reprogram it. That's what the mind clearing does. The first step of mind clearing, it's like the first thing is, remember we took the analogy of computer, right? So if you got a program in your computer that is not working for you, what are you going to do? You're going to delete that program. Step number one, you delete what you don't want. And after, you're going to go to the Play Store and download a program that is working for you, right? So step number two, instead, you're going to download what you want. And after step number three, you want to see that on the screen of life. You manifest that into your life. Those are the three steps of mind clearing. Cannot be more simple, right? You delete what you don't want, you download what you want, and you want to make sure that you're going to create that into your life, because that's how you experience things. If it's there in your head, right? If you delete and download, but it's not happening into your life, it's a fantasy. You don't get the experience, right? So that's why it's important to have your thought, your emotion, and your behavior and your action all aligned, all right? And that's what mind clearing will do that. When you've got all that, you are unstoppable.
Now, do you have any suggestions to get the thoughts, emotions, behavior, and actions all aligned?
Yeah, you learn the technique. But there's okay. If you want me to give you like tricks and things like that, they're not going to be as efficient, right? Because first of all, in order to connect to okay, I used to travel a lot, right? Do different countries, foreign countries, and all that. The most frustration I had, Amanda, in my traveling is when I met a cool guy or a cool girl, and I could not communicate because I was not speaking the same language. Where so far you can go, like let's pretend now the sound goes down, right? And I'm gonna try to communicate with my hands, right? Write down things, because we still have the visual, right? I mean, how far we're gonna go, right? And so that's, I think, the problem in my field. Because first of all, they say people, oh, you need to discover what boost programs are. I say, heck no, you don't. So you are telling me that you're going to use 5 or 10% of your mind power to crack the code of 90 to 95% of your mind. I mean, I say, good luck, right? They say you need to journal, you need to do all that, to do a ton of affirmation, a ton of visualization. I mean, that's really shooting a dart, I don't know, in the dark, right? I mean, really, you just don't know. You hope for the best, and it takes an iron will to do all that, right? The mind clearing right away, you feel the difference. It takes 5, maximum 10 minutes to clear any negative emotion you have. That's it. Boom. And that's the first step, delete only. I'm not talking about doing the other step, right? And so right away, you know that, oh man, that's crazy. I don't feel that way anymore. So what is the language of a subconscious mind? A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? That's why the subconscious mind can store so much data in a short time, right? 11 million bits per second instead of our mind, 11 bits per second, right? So it works with visualization. So nothing new for that, right? But so you need to visualize what you don't want, right? But you have to be in this picture because it's your past. Let's pretend if I'm a military guy, right? And I'm in Iraq or whatever, right? And so I pull the trigger and by mistake, I kill my best friend. Right? They call that collateral damage, right? So I come back to America, I'm shameful, I'm guilty. I feel so much guilty and all that. And so I made, separate from my wife. I've got PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Or syndrome, whatever you want to call it, right? And my life become a mess, right? Because there's still a part of my soul that is in the past pulling that trigger, right? So what if we bring that part of my soul that is there and we bring it to the present? The memory is gone. Therefore, the trauma is gone. Therefore, I'm free of that was emotion like shame, guilt, and whatever I had before, and I can move on with my life. See?
So I'm not understanding how you're bringing it to the present and then you're moving on.
So you need to visualize what you don't want. So in that case, I will visualize myself at the moment of a trauma where I kill my friend and I realize I killed my friend. And after, there's a program I created to delete that, to delete all those emotions, all those negative thoughts I've got about it, all those things, and it's delete. So basically, I give a technology to people, right, and help them to guide them to customize, their program, right, and they use their own healing power, right, tap into their subconscious mind. That's their picture, right. I have nothing to do with that, right. That the subconscious mind communicate to them, and I tell them how to delete that program, and they will send that program themselves in that picture to themselves in that picture. And that's how you can get rid of all those negative emotions. Let's see somebody tell me, well, I feel anxiety all the time. I say, no problem. Visualize yourself. You see yourself, having anxiety, and we apply the delete things. In 5-10 minutes, the anxiety is totally gone when they look at the picture. Totally gone. They don't feel it. If I ask them, when you look at that picture, how anxious you are from 1 to 10, they will say always 10 over 10. At the end, they say 0 over 10. And that can be as short as 5 minutes. So it doesn't take a long time. When you speak the same language, when you've got that right program to do whatever you do, even with your computer, right? When you've got the right program, you're going to be happy with the outcome that you see in your screen, right? When you don't use the right program to do things, it's like if you want to write something, and how can I say that? Or if you want to send some, but if you don't have the right program, and I write something down, and I use a program to send it to you, and that program cannot do it, right? As an attachment, it's not going to work, right? Because it's not the right programming. That's what has been happening in my field, in the field of the subconscious mind. It's the problem of not using the same language. So we know what's creating it, but the way how to fix it, the how to fix it was not right in my eyes.
Okay. Now, I'm curious. I want to get into goal setting a little bit and talk what you think is wrong in most people's approach with their approach to goal setting.
Before I say that, I'm going to answer your question. But before I say that, this programming is so efficient that we treat pain. I treat pain and remotely, right? Because I just tell them what to do in a Zoom or Meet, Google Meet or whatever, right? So if you've got neck pain, we can reprogram your mind for the pain to go away. And I've got testimonial on my website, themindclearing.com. So I don't know anybody who just had how can I say, that claim that, it can help pain by reprogramming the mind. I don't know anybody, right? And so that's a part of it's called the body clearing, right? So that's one of my programs to get rid of pain, symptom in your body, and inflammation. Remember, I'm a holistic doctor, right? So I had to do that too, right? And after for the goal and success clearing, right? Well, here's the problem with goal and success clearing. We're using only 5 or 10% of mind power, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can use that subconscious mind, to make sure that that's the same problem, right? And so there are several things. So let's pretend you've got a goal. So give me a goal that somebody wants to achieve. Give me an example I can use.
They are trying to get accepted into school or a program.
All right. So the current reality, I cannot be accepted to that school. What I want is to get accepted to that school. So what we'll do mind clearing on that. So the first thing I would say, okay, so visualize you in your current reality thinking there's no way I can be enrolled, right? And after we delete that, right? And now, now I can see that it's possible, right? I don't know how to do it, but at least now I can see it's possible, right? It's not, I don't have that brick wall in front of me, right? So this, and after we want to make sure that we download you getting that. Maybe you're going to visualize, I don't know, but getting the letter of acceptance, right? Whatever it is, right? And so we got to download that into your mind, right? Like, yes, I can do that, right? That's what I want, right? And after, we're going to want to make sure that's another download that we're going to do that you can happen to your reality. But this is not enough. This is the starting point. When you have a goal, you always have a preconceived idea how you're going to achieve it, right? Say, I want to do this and that and this and that, which is natural, right? Otherwise, if you had no clue, it's kind of, okay, well, I'm just going to wait. So you're looking for some knowledge or whatever to get it, right? What we do, it's like we already reprogrammed the A to B, right? And now I will ask the client, to the patient, whatever goal it is, doesn't matter. And I will ask her, say, now I want you to tell me one baby step you're going to take towards achieving your goal. So maybe it's like, I need to call some people who have been successful of enrolling, right? And ask them maybe some tips, talk to them and see if they can share their experience and get some knowledge about what are the requirements, and maybe that will give me a path to better myself in order to be accepted, right? So let's pretend you make 10 calls, right? And 5 people answer you, 3 brush you off, and you ended up 1 person that was willing to help. So when you have been taking that call, and you've got the outcome of those calls, right? I will ask you, while you are taking that step, what is the thing that bothers you? And you're going to tell me, man, there's only one person that answered me and was able to help me. So we call that resistance, right? It resists toward the flow of you achieving your goal, right? So we'll delete that resistance. We'll do mind clearing on that. And all the things where you're taking the baby step that you didn't like, all the cons, if you want, we're just going to delete that. Like that, you have less resistance towards achieving your goal. We're going to do another baby step, right? And the baby step, you say, okay, now I want to contact that woman and just, she tell me to do these things, I don't know what it can be, right? So you say, okay, I'm going to do that, right? So you're going to take that baby step to do what she told you. But before even taking that baby step, we're going to reprogram that baby step, that outcome, right? So the baby step is A and B. So we want to make sure there's no obstacle, right, in your mind in order for you to go towards B, right? You say, oh, I can do that, B-U-T, right? But this can be on my way, but I'm not sure. All the doubt that you may have are going to be deleted. And after you go on and go on and go on, so exponentially, you're going to reach your goal. And it's going to become easier and easier because you're going to have less resistance and less resistance. Usually when you achieve your goal, it's become easier and easier to achieve your goal because you've got less resistance, less doubt. You become you got more clarity. Therefore, you got more focus and you're getting more confidence towards achieving your goal. So it's totally the opposite. Instead of going downward and say, oh man, it's so hard and blah, blah, it becomes easier and easier. And even if you are impatient, like I remember one of our podcast hosts told me, what's about if you're impatient? I said, well, we reprogram that. Why do you want to be impatient? Well, you don't have to be, when you are sure about yourself, when you feel powerful, you don't have to demonstrate your power, right? It's like somebody I do martial art, right? If you stay calm and somebody wants to fight you, that guy's going to say, oh, okay. But if you stay calm and focus and you don't show any fears, the guy's going to say, oh, maybe you know something I don't, right? Basically, the goal is that to get rid of all the things, all the doubt, all the uncertainty, all the things that are in your way, while you're accomplishing your goal, while you're taking baby steps towards accomplishing your goal. So there's no way you can quit. So that's number one, because what happens when you've got more clarity, focus, and confidence, you raise your level of consciousness. Some people will say you raise your level of vibration. And if the knowledge for you to get into that school is here and you are here, so each time you're making a baby step, you're getting higher and higher. And after you can resonate with that knowledge, right? You will have access to that knowledge that you didn't have access before. I can tell you that firsthand. It took me 3 or 4 years, for 4 years now, to develop that mind clearing things, right? And at the beginning, I was thinking to myself, how the heck I'm going to explain that to people? I had no clue, absolutely no clue, because the knowledge to explain that was here, right? And so step by step, I treated myself, and now the treatment are so good that I just go much faster, right? So I get access to other knowledge. It's like when you open your mind to other things, right, new knowledge will come. And I know it sounds crazy to say that, but that's my reality. That's how I experienced. Does it make sense?
It really does. Because a lot of people speak about visualizing and seeing yourself like in whatever the goal is or whatever the situation is or pain-free, but it makes a lot of sense that you have to delete the other thought, the other belief. You've got to clear it. Even like you mentioned the computer, but even in ourselves, like you can visualize it, but if you don't believe it, you're only going to get so far.
I'm so glad you're making that comment, sweetie. I'm so glad because, visualization work, but it's kind of a shooting in the dark, right? I mean, you just don't know, right? If it's going to work. And like you said, if we got some negative programming in between, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's another tool to use your mind, but it's not very specific, right? I mean, you feel it right away, oh yeah, it's no problem now. I guarantee you that if at the beginning you say, there's no way it's going to help, some people that I actually treated yesterday for hip pain, right? And I asked her, do you think that, or you can heal from that? She said, no. I said, okay, well, let's program that. You see what I mean? Because if it's your mind, it's not even possible. How do you think it's going to happen, right? And after we went deeper, and next thing you know, she felt trapped with a family, right? And I told her, you felt trapped in your family, so the mind-body connection going to make sure you cannot walk, and you're totally trapped there, and you cannot leave them. She understood that. We started to work on the family, and that was the real cause of the problem. The real cause of the problem is not the hip. It's a domino effect, the consequences. And that's why she called me. But the real problem is she felt trapped for 20 years in her family, and she thinks she cannot leave. I say, well, the mind thinks bad, so it's going to translate it to the body, making sure that you are limping like crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how something like that the mind thinks in terms of the family or in terms of like trapped with whatever is going to show in a physical symptom.
That's mind-body connection.
No, I know. It happens a lot, and it's just like, it's wild to me.
That's why I want to say something that's so important for our audience to understand. We are so much more powerful than we have been told. And so that's a negative. You tell me, oh, you mean I can create pain in your body? You bet you. The number one cause of all disease is your mind. Guaranteed. Because you experience your reality with your mind, with your senses, right? But it's only 5 or 10% of your mind. The rest of it, all that programming behind the scene, dictating every experience that you have in your mind that can be programmed. That's why, when they put fear on people, right? It creates some negative programming, right? And so that's the way, unfortunately, the world works, right? So, commercial, that's about programming your mind, right? And they used to have I don't remember the name of it, but they will insert some pictures in the movie that your eye cannot detect to program your mind. That's how powerful we are. So the good news, it's when you can get rid of those negative programming, this is the fastest way and easiest way to change, to better yourself, to heal from whatever, trauma. We all have some trauma to deal with. That's the normal things, right? And to grow and transform yourself exponentially. And you have to understand that, this is not, okay, it's not our fault we have been programmed, right? I mean, I give you that, right? That's not your fault, right? If your mom or your dad, and we are trying our best. It's not about judging people, right? Because sometimes we reprogram the parents, right? Because we share energetically so many things and so much time, right? And they say, I love my parents. I say, of course you love your parents. That's not about, but nobody's perfect. We all have some negative programming that can be passed on, right? That's even more damaging than genetic, right? We talk about the genetic, right? Okay. So generational trauma, right? It's passed on by family to family. And at one time, like I told people working with me, somebody has to do the work and stop that. Because, people talk about legacy, right? Oh, so legacy, what it is, it's what you want to be remembered for. The best legacy you can do is to heal yourself, to transform yourself, to grow yourself. Like that, you're not going to pass on to your family member, to your kids. But not only that, like that, you can truly help the entire energy of the planet. That's how we can change things. That's how we can get a better world, by changing yourself. Be the change you want to see in the world. So when you do that, and enough people are healing and transforming themselves for the better, more we can totally change what's going on right now.
Now, I have a personal question for you. Is this how you overcame your cancer diagnosis?
So what I did, I found out that, physiologically, that if I supercharge the body with oxygen, right, and I never did alkaline diet, it's too expensive, too much commitment, nobody's going to do that. So I created some mixture, to supercharge. So I take my pH after meal, do the mixture, and boom, now it's alkaline, it's good, it's not acidic. So I will do that, and I started to learn some emotional technique, right? I learned this technique, but still it was not enough, right? I have some help also, some healer that I knew, right? Some doctors, and I did different things, and the accumulation, I took some, but really I didn't do a lot, but the mind, when I started to treat the emotion, that was a big part of it. Now with the mind clearing, I would be so much faster. So yeah, I had to, because there's confusion with holistic health, especially with a mind-body connection. So for example, if I treat you with the energy technique, you're going to feel so relaxed. I mean, people feel so relaxed, they fall asleep on my table, right? That's how relaxed they are. And they come because they've got pain, right? And so they fall asleep, right? And so is it a mind treatment? No, it's not. Even though your mind is relaxed, that's a good side effect of it. A mind treatment goes to what's causing your mind to be in trouble, right? And you fix it with a specific mind, like the mind clearing, right? So that's the confusion with holistic treatment. They say, oh, you know what? It's going to relax your mind. So that's going to affect your mind. You need to find out what's causing the problem for your mind and knowing how to fix it in your mind. You need to find the causing your inflammation and knowing how to fix your inflammation. You need to know what's causing your physical stress and having the adequate technique to fix it, right? Holistic in my book.
I was just curious in terms of what you did for that.
Sure.
Now, how long ago was it you were diagnosed with cancer and went through that?
Oh, so that's probably 10 years ago.
And you don't have cancer anymore? That's amazing.
But it is and it's not, So the mindset is very important for that, because for me, my approach was, okay, I knew that I never asked myself, why me? I never been a victim, because I saw that with my dad. It didn't work very well for him. And so I knew right away, because I'm pretty intuitive and creative. So I knew right away that my healing will also not only helping me, but I will be able to translate that into my patient, right? I will be able to help people better. So it's kind of, in a way, you're dissociating yourself, even emotionally, with all what's going on with you, right? So you're more like the observer in a way, and you say, okay, I understand why this is happening to me, right? But I never, even in my wildest dream, ever thought that I would be able to co-create that mind-clearing technique, right? Because I don't think we really invent anything. I don't think we are really creating everything. We just be able to tap into that field, right? And be able to translate that into our daily life and make sense out of it, right? I think, because for me, creation or creativity is basically, I start to do things, especially treating people out of the blue. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. That's not very... Don't worry, I don't know what I'm doing, right? And so I will ask some feedback from my patient, right? That's why pain was important for me, to be able to help pain, because that's when I knew I was really under something, right? When in some instances, be able to treat pain in just only 2 visits, right? The pain is totally gone, right? And doing only this. So that's okay, now you're under something, right? And even symptom in the body, right? Sometimes it takes longer because it's more complex. Like with that woman, I told her we need 5 more visits, right? Because we need to unfold all that problem with your family that you had for 50 years, 60 years, right? And so, but some are more simple, right? And so usually within 2 visits, it's clear, right? And so I really knew that I was under something there, and I have to be able to treat that. So for me, it's very important. Everything I've got something, it's like when, after you see life different, right? You understand that you are totally not a victim. You are the creator of your life. And you know what's preventing you to create, what you want is your limiting belief, is that negative programming. So if you've got technology to get rid of that, okay, it's going to happen. Question of time, treating yourself and doing the step. That's all there is to it. And so that's why we're so much more powerful when you can tap into that subconscious mind, because actually we are conceived that way. At conception, we've got all that power. Even when you are born, okay, you may have some limiting belief acquired from the outside world, from your mom, if she had a trauma and things like that, but it's still minimal. And when you look at the baby, they don't have too much conscious mind developed, right? And after, when we get more conscious mind is developed, that's how after we get more disconnected. And so what are we disconnected of? So allow me to zoom out and get a wider perspective of what I'm saying, right? So let's pretend the sun is God, is awareness, whatever your belief system is about, a higher power, right? And so that's the sun. And after, the sun just creates like your spirit, right? And after, this is all non-duality, by the way. People who understand that as pure love, people who understand that all there is and has ever been, right? So that, and after you got the sky, and after Amanda, you've got you and me, right? The physical you and me. And some people, they've got the sky that is so cloudy, but they say, there's no sun. Sun doesn't exist, never felt it, never seen it, right? So what the clouds are made of, they are made of those limiting beliefs. So when you start to get rid of some, after you can have a glimpse at the sun, right? You can feel the warmth of the sun, right? And so you get excited and you get rid of more of your limiting belief, right? After you get more connected to your spirit. And finally, you realize that you are not what you have been told, only 5 or 10% of your mind. You're not only like a bone and flesh, you are spirit living a physical experience. And that's called awakening in my book. And your life cannot be the same.
I agree with that. Now, I'm curious where you feel or how you feel intuition ties into this, if it does.
So there's different ways that your subconscious mind communicates with you. So the first way is when you remember dreams. And quite frankly, when you remember dreams, there's always a picture or like a movie or serial picture that comes with it, right? So that's one way. And the second way is the intuition, right? And so the intuition is like the wisdom of the subconscious mind, if you will, right? So the intuition is like, to me, the way it's happening to me is like starting, like I said, doing things out of the blue, right? It's like almost, it's being connected, right? When you have the closer, the better connection you've got to your spirit, the more intuitive you're going to be. Because it's going to go flow directly, because that intuition, subconscious mind, I believe that the subconscious mind is our connection to our over level of consciousness. That's why we're not aware of, right? And so when you can tap into that, you get more connection with your spirit. If you are really connected with your spirit, you are more in tune with what you're supposed to do, right? You've got less negative anything, less negative thought, less negative emotion, less negative behavior, less negative things, right? You're going to do the right thing because your spirit is pure love, right? And so after since you are more connected, you can get more intuitive, definitely, right? And you will think doing things, again, out of the blue or getting that knowing, but you don't even know why, but you just know. I mean, there's not even a doubt. There's not even a question. That's intuition. And so when people, it's very important to listen to intuition. I remember decades ago, maybe, I don't know, I've been doing that work for, I think, 28 years now. That's crazy. 2 decades ago, I will say, I will always trust more my intuition than my intellect. I didn't truly understood, I guess I said that intuitively, right? Because I truly didn't understood, why I was saying that. But yeah, the intuition is coming from some higher power, right? It's coming from some higher level of your consciousness, right? And so I will advise you to pay attention to intuition, right? And ask for some confirmation if you're not sure, right? You just ask for some confirmation. I remember maybe a year ago doing that mind clearing things. I knew that I didn't have a deletion part. It was unfinished, right? And so what I said, it would be nice if I can find that out, right? 5 months later, I'm watching a YouTube video and literally it has been handing to me word for word. And after it triggered my mind, that creativity, and I found out something even better, right? And so that's how it can be crazy. That's how we are designed to function at conception, right? And after, those programming, that analytical mind gets in the way. And quite frankly, what we have been taught, all our energy, we're too much in our head. We are stuck in our head. All our energy is going into our head, right? And so the problem is like, when you look at the stats, 80% of our thoughts are negative. 95% of our thoughts are the same day and the same that the day before. 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That's not pretty, what's going on down there, right? I mean, talking about peace of mind, good luck, right? And so that's why we need to change that, right? We need just to free our mind, and that's going to open our heart, right? So now we can have open mind, open heart, and open will. I call that the head, the heart, and remember the hara in Japanese means belly, right? So you need to have peace of mind, you follow your heart, and you take action, right? And so that's how it works. So when your head, your heart, and the hara is all aligned, that's it. You need to have your subconscious programming aligned with that, right? That's mandatory.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I love how you mentioned about intuition just being a knowing. Like it might not even make sense, but it's just a knowing.
That's what I totally agree. And making sense is using only 5 or 10% of your mind anyway, right?
Yes.
Some people are going to think crazy, right? Because, oh my goodness, especially with left brain people, right? We say, this guy's crazy, right? He's going to listen to some clue that he's got coming out of the blue. Yeah. And you have served me well, right? I mean,
And thank you so much. This has been great. I think a lot of people that listen to me sometimes think I'm crazy. So it's okay. The left brain people aren't for me. They don't fully get the Manders mindset.
yeah, I'm not saying, by the way, that you have to ignore your conscious mind and your logic, right? Of course not.
I get it.
When you can have both and you can get all that input really about, and there's one more thing I want to say that I think is very important. It's the purpose, right? Why you do what you do, right? Because some people will say, oh, you know what? I want to make $1 million. Okay. I will ask, why? And the why, there's one more thing I want to say. Remember, open mind, open heart, and things like that, right? So the mind is how you do things. Your heart is why you're doing things. And your hara is what are you doing? So we're stuck in the how to do things, right? But if you don't have the why, what's your heart, right? Because let's see, when you're open-minded, so let's see, you've got one problem, right? And so you close-minded, you see no solution or maybe one solution and reject all the others. So you start to clear your mind, right? Now you're more open-minded, right? So for the same problem, you're going to see maybe 10 more solutions, right? Now, which one you're going to take? Well, when you clear your mind, that's going to open your heart like a flower, right? So the way it's supposed to work, you've got open-minded, right? You've got all those solutions, right? Possible. You're going to follow your heart, and after you're going to take action upon it, right? And so if you look at that, peace, I'm a man. Trust me, I know about peace. It's masculine. The heart, totally feminine. And the creation is both of them. That's how it works in nature. You need the sperm and the ovary in order to create a baby, right? You need the combination of masculine and feminine, right? And where this is happening in your belly. In your belly, right? And so that's how we create things. We need the masculine, the how, the why, the feminine, right? You have to follow. So basically, you've got every solution, you're going to follow your heart and you're going to take action. And by taking action, that's how you're going to create. Does it make sense? Masculine, feminine, right? Lots of people say, oh, you need to align, or what we call coherence, to use big word, right? You need to have your coherence between your mind and your heart. I say, great, it's not enough. You want to make sure you manifest. You want to show you great. You want to combine that masculine and feminine in the belly, which is basically in the darkness, right? But after I can go on, and I've got another philosophy on that. So I'm going to spare you but I just wanted to mention that because this is, I think, pretty important. So basically, just to let you know, sweetie, is the feminine that is in charge in our world.
No, that makes a lot of sense about the head, heart, and the hara. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No
Have
problem.
you heard of a man named Jay Shetty?
No, I don't know anybody. I used to say, even when my patient asked me about over chiropractor or mind body, no, why?
So he hosts a podcast called On Purpose, and he's got 2 ending segments, and I end my podcast with those same ending segments. The first segment is called The Many Sides to Us. There's 5 questions, and they need to be answered in 1 word each. What is 1 word someone who was meeting you for the first time would use to describe you as?
Fun.
What is 1 word someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you as?
Loyal.
What is one
Loyal.
word? What is 1 word you'd use to describe yourself?
Deep.
What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would use to describe you as?
1 word. Talking too much. I don't know how to use 1 word on this one.
Okay. What is 1 word you're trying to embody right now?
Empowerment.
Second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in a sentence. What is the best advice you've heard or received?
Be yourself.
Why?
Because you can be told to do something like this and like that has been maybe working for somebody else, but you have to find your own path. And for me, my own path has been out of a path of many things. And that's how I'll be able to be more creative and going out of a main path.
What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
Conform.
Why is that the worst?
Because I never wanted to be like other people. You know, when I saw in my family, for example, all their life was pre-programmed. They will have this, they will have that. I wanted to live my dream. I wanted to have more excitement in my life. I wanted to have more freedom. I just wanted more out of life. And more I realized that's a programming that we get from different society. And that's not what we are truly. I really wanted to discover myself again. And you cannot follow the path of everybody to do that. It's not possible.
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Damn, I don't know. Because traveling come to my mind, but I still want to travel, you know, teaching other people. That's important for me. Can you repeat the question again?
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Competition.
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
Repeat again, please.
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be, what would you want it to say?
Somebody who has his heart in the right place and really, truly try to help people.
If you could create 1 law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
1 law. I mean, I'm not too much into laws, but so what should be mandatory that the mind and how to use your mind should be taught at school. Why? Because that's common knowledge, you know, and that's why that goes to the essence of why we're on Earth, right? We're on Earth to get better, to become better human being and not become like almost slave, you know, to a system that doesn't really serve us. And so if we can definitely teach our children, you know, how to be able to be free, to get the knowledge and be closer to the truth, you know, and go to at the essence of what we're designed to be and become, right? So that would be the law.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure and it was fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to share? Any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, you have to experience things, right? I mean, like the mind clearing, for example, you can go to my website. It's called themindclearing.com. You go into contact, right? And you will see there's my email and the form that pop up. And if you want to get a treatment like that, you will truly understand what I'm talking about, because we can talk about those things forever. Until you truly experience the work, you will have no idea. You will have a concept, right? So I will give 20% off, if they do that, right? It will take an hour and whatever you want to reprogram. And if you want to learn that, because the goal is to have more Dr. Salas in the world, right? In a way, to have a domino effect and to teach people. So, of course, it can be good for coaches, and health professionals that really wants to go deeper into the healing and transform themselves, but also be able to help their patient deeper, right? And also, it's for the common people. This is simple enough that you can help yourself, right, to use the body clearing for you and your loved one. So you can be so much empowered. That's why I'm saying that the most important things is to, like I say, when you can empower people to heal themselves, transform themselves, and grow, that's the holy grail of healing. To me, that's the most powerful healing that you can have, right? And so if you can do it on your own, and I realize that some people, they are so sick or so distressed, but we need some help, right? We need some guidance and things like that. And so that's why I want more people to be able to learn that technique and be able to replicate that, right? And get the result. And that's how we're going to get more people, the head, the heart, and the hara be aligned and be happy. The happiness has nothing to do with having more stuff in our life. That's pretty obvious, right? When you buy something, that's going to be your maximum level of happiness. And after you can go only down that world, right? Down the road, right? But when you really transform yourself and you get rid of those negative emotions or negative thought and negative behavior, that's the way we are designed. And in my book, the most powerful way to do that is to tap into the subconscious mind and get rid of those programming. So you are so much more powerful than you think you are. You're not only 5 or 10% of your mind. You are so much more powerful than that.
I completely agree. And I love how you mentioned you won't know about anything until you experience it. You won't know how it is until you do it, until you try it.
Yeah, when you've got an emotion, in 5 minutes it's gone, you're going to, now I look at that picture, it's totally gone. And so we do more work around it. But yes, it doesn't take a long time. You can get really great relief in a short time. If you try, I see lots of people who think they've tried everything. I've been everywhere with no success, right? Because they didn't find out what's causing your problem or they don't know how to fix it. It's not your fault. It's not, it's just the way it is. But if you listen and you've got that knowledge and you don't take action, that's on you now. That's your responsibility. When you don't know what you don't know. It's not your fault if you have been programmed, but you know that there's something that you can see in one session, you will have result, and you don't want to do it, that's on you. That's the truth, right? That's our creator.
No, I completely agree. And I love how you said, you don't know what you don't know. That is so true. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really enjoyed this.
Amanda, it was a blessing and a pleasure to meet you and feel your heart. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Manders Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.